The showroom smelled like pine-scented cleaner and expensive leather, like something trying very hard to feel like Christmas. Artificial snow clung to the corners of the glass windows, and a tall tree stood in the center, decorated with silver ornaments that reflected the polished cars like tiny distorted mirrors. I hesitated at the entrance, brushing invisible dust from my coat. It wasn't new. The sleeves had faded where my elbows rested on the counter at the repair shop. My boots carried a thin line of dried mud from the morning shift. I almost turned back, but then I saw her face in my mind. Lena, 16, bright eyes that still lit up when she talked about engines, about horsepower, about freedom. I stepped inside. A young salesman with a tight smile approached me. His hair was styled perfectly, his suit crisp enough to cut paper. "Can I help you?" he asked, already glancing at my boots. "Yes," I said, my voice steady. "I'm buying this car for my daughter's Christmas gift." His eyebrows lifted slightly. Not high enough to be obvious, just enough to sting. "Which one?" he asked. I pointed to the deep blue hatchback near the tree. It wasn't the most expensive model, but it was new, safe, reliable. I had researched it for months during lunch breaks, scrolling through reviews while eating sandwiches in the cold. He looked at the car, then at me again. I saw the calculation in his eyes, the judgment. "That's a very popular choice," he said carefully. "Perhaps you'd like to look at our pre-owned selection first?" A soft laugh came from behind him. Another salesman, older, watching from his desk. "No," I replied. "This one?" The young man nodded, but the politeness had shifted. It felt thinner. We walked around the car. I ran my fingers lightly over the hood. The paint was smooth and cold under my skin. I imagined Lena's hands gripping the steering wheel, her nervous smile when she first drove alone. I imagined her not having to take 2 buses to school anymore, not standing in the rain like her mother used to. "She's been working hard," I murmured without meaning to. "I'm sorry?" the salesman asked. "My daughter. She deserves something good." He cleared his throat. "Well, we can certainly discuss financing options. We have very flexible plans." "I won't need financing," I said. That was when the older salesman stood up. "Sir," he said, walking over with a wider smile, "this model requires a substantial down payment." "I understand. How much were you thinking of putting down?" "All of it." For a second, silence fell between us. Then came that laugh again, not loud, not cruel on the surface, but sharp. The older man folded his arms. "All of it," he repeated. "Yes." He glanced at my coat, my hands, rough and scarred from years of fixing engines that belonged to other people. "That will be 42,000 euros. "I know." The younger salesman shifted uncomfortably. "We can check your credit score if you'd like to see." "I don't need to check anything," I said quietly. The older man's smile tightened. "Sir, I don't mean to offend you, but perhaps we should make sure we're not wasting anyone's time." My chest burned, but not with shame, with memory. I remembered Lena at 9 years old, sitting on an overturned bucket in my garage handing me tools. "Papa," she had said, "one day I'm going to drive a car you don't have to fix." I remembered my wife's tired hands before cancer took her. "Take care of her," she had whispered. "Show her what love looks like." Love didn't always look like flowers or holidays by the sea. Sometimes it looked like overtime shifts, like skipping meals, like saving every extra coin in a metal box hidden behind old paint cans. "I'm not wasting your time," I said. The older salesman sighed. "Then how exactly do you intend to pay?" I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a folded envelope. It was thick, heavy, months of counting and recounting. Their expressions shifted from amusement to irritation. "Sir, we don't accept—" I placed the envelope on the small glass desk beside the car. "Cash," I said. The word hung in the air. The younger salesman blinked. The older one stared at the envelope as if it might explode. "That's not— it's unusual," the younger one muttered. "Is it not allowed?" I asked calmly. "No, it's allowed," the older man admitted slowly. "It's just—" He didn't finish. "Would you like to count it?" I asked. His hands hesitated before reaching for the envelope. The crisp sound of bills sliding against glass filled the quiet showroom. 1 stack, 2, 3. His smile disappeared completely. The laughter was gone. Other customers began to glance over. 42,000 euros. Every note earned with grease-stained fingers. With frozen mornings and aching backs. With birthdays celebrated in the garage because work couldn't stop. When he finished counting, the older salesman cleared his throat. It appears everything is here. Yes, I said softly. The younger salesman's voice had changed when he spoke again. It carried something like respect. Or maybe disbelief. Would you like it gift-wrapped for Christmas delivery? I looked at the car again. The lights of the tree reflected in its windows like stars. Yes, I said. I'd like that. As paperwork was prepared, the older man avoided my eyes. The younger one offered coffee. I declined politely. When everything was signed, the keys were placed in a small silver box with a red ribbon. Congratulations, the younger salesman said quietly. Thank you. I picked up the box. It felt lighter than I expected. After all those years, all that weight, it was strange how light the result felt in my hands. As I walked toward the exit, the older salesman spoke again. His voice was different now, less sharp. Sir, he said, I apologize if we misjudged you. I paused, then looked at him. You didn't misjudge me, I said. You judged what you saw. Outside, the air was cold and sharp. Snow began to fall in soft, silent flakes. On Christmas morning, Lena stood in the doorway in her thick socks. Her hair messy, her eyes still heavy with sleep. When she saw the car parked outside with the red bow across the hood, she froze. Papa, she whispered. I handed her the silver box. Her hands trembled as she opened it. When she saw the keys, she started shaking her head. No, this isn't. Papa, this is too much. You worked hard, I said. You dreamed big. Tears streamed down her face as she threw her arms around me. I felt her heartbeat against my chest, fast and alive. You always believed in me, she cried. I closed my eyes. No, I whispered into her hair. I just saved. Later that day, as she drove slowly down the snowy street for the first time, neighbors watching and smiling, I stood quietly on the sidewalk. My boots were still old, my coat still worn, but my heart felt rich beyond measure. They had laughed, until he paid cash, and in that laughter I realized something I would never forget. True wealth isn't loud. It doesn't need to impress. It waits patiently, works silently, and when the moment comes, it speaks for itself.